Test.
Yeah, I know. That's why we're back in the meeting on that last offer. Unless there was one after that I missed, but here, see this is
You ready?
getting away from the open. I pulled up these emails. Yeah, it was one of them. I think it was one of them.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is 9 a.m. and it is Tuesday, January 7th. Time for our weekly Cudahy County Board of Commissioners weekly meeting. That being said, we'll open up the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Harley, you want to lead us this morning?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Harley. Housekeeping, if you have a cell phone, which I'm sure you do, please silence it or turn it off. And if you do get a call that you need to take, please step out into the rotunda area so you don't disrupt the meeting. This meeting is being streamed live, so if you do wish to approach the board, you will be on the live stream. Just a heads up so that you know that. Also, if there's anyone in the audience that has an issue they'd like to bring to the board, we want to make certain that they have time to do that. We want to allow time during the open part of our meeting to hear any concerns or thoughts that you may wish to share with us. We would not be able to act on them as they are not on the agenda, but we certainly would give you time to voice your opinion. Seeing none, is there any items on the agenda that appear to be a conflict of interest for any of the board members?
No.
No.
That being said, I'll entertain a motion to accept the
to
agenda.
Approve the agenda.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Hatton, second by Van Duzen. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
What about the minutes of the December 27th meeting?
Approve as email.
Motion by Hatton, second by Gable. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Is there any old business that we need to bring before the board before we wrap up the year? Any old business? Cindy, do we have anything that's... Not that you're aware of. Good, that's good news. Anyone have anything? Okay, with that...
I'll make a motion to adjourn CNADA.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
And who made that second?
I did.
Gable? Okay. Any discussion? Any discussion? For those of you out there, the reason that we have to do that, that is actually the wrap-up of the last year, 2019. And so anything that is discussed or anything that we act on at this point and forward will be in the 2020 minutes and go into the record as that. All right, that being said, then the next item on the business is nominations and action to elect the 2020 chair and vice chair.
We need to vote.
Oh, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we'll go to nominations and action to elect 2020 chair and vice chair. I'll turn it over to the auditor at this time.
Okay. Now is the time to make nominations for the chair for 2020, and I'll entertain any nominations.
I'll nominate Commissioner Hatton.
Okay. Okay. Commissioner Gable nominates Commissioner Hanton. Are there any other nominations?
I would nominate Mr. Johnson.
Are there any, Commissioner Waterman nominates Commissioner Johnson. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Okay, so since we have 2 nominations, we will need to have a vote for chair. So I'm going to pass these blank pieces of paper around. They are all the same. And have you each write down the commissioner that you, please pass them along. Have you write down the name of the commissioner who you wish to vote for, fold them up, send them back to me, and I will tally the votes. Total votes are 3 for Hanton and 2 for Johnson. So Commissioner Hanton is the chairman of the board for 2020. We'll now take nominations for vice chair. Are there any nominations?
I would nominate Commissioner Gable.
Are there any other nominations for vice chair?
I would nominate Commissioner Johnson.
Are there any other nominations for vice chair? So we'll do the same thing that we did before. We will have a secret vote.
It's up to you. Oh.
Sorry. And this vote was 3 votes for Commissioner Johnson, 2 for Commissioner Gable. So Commissioner Johnson will be the vice chair for 2020. And now Commissioner Hanton can take over the duties for the rest of the agenda.
All right, thank you, everyone. I appreciate your support.
The Veteran Service Officer had to drive the van today, so he will not be here to report.
All right, so we will move on then with item number 9, our monthly reports and extension. Yes, Jody is here.
Morning, Jody.
Morning.
Morning, Jody.
Turn this on?
Yes.
All right.
Thanks.
First of all, I want to welcome you to 2020 with a 4-H calendar. This year's theme was, America. So there's lots of pictures taken by 4-Hers from across the state. Next year's theme is 4-H, so that any 4-H activities that they catch doing, so it'll be all just about 4-H kids. But we have 3 youth from Cottington County in the calendar this year. I remember now, 2 Conkey kids, and then 1 Rammel with her mom, who is in the National Guard. So there are 3 from Cottington County in the calendar. So those are sold throughout the
Okay,
state.
now who are Who are they?
2 Conkey girls, Lucy and Anna, and then Claire Rammel. Can't remember what month they are
Yeah, that's
off the top of my head, but they are, some might be on the side, some might be on the top. So
So apparently there's a theme.
there's a theme, yeah. They used to not have a theme and it was harder to pick from.
September is clear.
Okay, and they pick them, the judges at the state fair pick the pictures for the calendar. And now we have a special lot just for the calendar themes, so, yep, so this year's was America.
October is
So,
Anna.
so it's always an honor to be put in the 4-H calendar. So last year's theme was Barnes, this year was America,
A
next
lot
year will
of
be
neat
4-H.
pictures in here.
Yeah, so they've been all across South Dakota taking pictures of different things, and so just wanted to share those with you.
Thank you.
And tonight, last night I had a 4-H leaders meeting, discussion on things coming up. And tonight we start BB gun, air pistol, and air rifle. We've kind of updated a little bit with some of our things. We did apply for 2 grants. We got the NRA Foundation grant, and we got a, now it's got a National Elk Foundation grant. So we were able to get tanks for air tanks to actually put air into those air pistols. So it'll be a little bit more than what we've done in the past. We have 27 kids signed up. It'll be every Tuesday night up until the end of April when the state shoot is held in Fort Pierre. So we'll be doing some safety tonight and get them on the line for a little bit to shoot too. That's being held in the sail ring of our building. So, and then archery begins on Tuesdays and Thursdays on January 21st. So far we have 45 kids signed up for archery, but that will be held in the city auditorium. We're still taking registrations for both programs, so kids can still sign up for those programs. We're also now recruiting parents and volunteers to help with our 4-H lunch counter at the farm shows. So that is a big thing happening. I'm meeting with my 3 ladies with the lunch counter. I have a 4-H alumni helping me too this year, so it's great to see some of them come back and have so many fresh ideas. We have YQCA, which is the Youth for the Quality Care of Animals. And I have to go get training online for that, and we have to offer that to our youth. And so in order to show animals at the county and the state, the youth have to participate in this. And each year they change the curriculum, so they're learning something new, life skills every year about their animals. And so there is no school on February 14th in a lot of the districts around Watertown. So I'm going to be offering 2 classes during Farm Show on February 14th at 10 and at 2 in our classrooms out there. So, and then I'll also offer it after school in March at Florence and Waverly South Shore and one in Watertown again. So they have quite a few opportunities to attend.
So this is a new requirement then?
It's been a requirement last year also.
Okay.
So
What's it called again?
it's YQCA,
Okay.
and
Why?
it's YQCA. I always get the YMCA kicking in me. And then it's the Youth for the Quality Care of Animals. So they're learning a lot about even talking about their animals to people when they're out at Achievement Days or at the State Fair when someone stops by and talks to them. They're also learning about how to handle their animals and how to, where they're keeping their animals and feeding their animals and kind of checking out their feed and what they're feeding them. So it's good for them. They're learning something new every year. And I also learn along with it too. So, and Clover Buds are in full swing. Will be our 2nd month this month. And so we have a total of 51 Clover Buds so far in Waverly, Florence, Watertown, and Henry.
Wow.
So, and 12 youth graduated from Clover Woods last year, and they moved up to regular 4-H. They're in 4-H clubs now. So, some of my past alumni's kids are coming back, so it's making me feel a little old. But, and then Becky wanted me to share with you that last year we had 65 paid rentals, which brought in almost $24,000. So I have a copy of that for Cindy too. So that's up from the year before. So Just depends on activities. Any questions?
What do we charge to rent that facility out there?
It's broken down, I know.
Oh, is
It's
it
just based on
depending
what you're
on-
taking, what buildings you're taking.
I
and-
see.
When you're
Okay.
coming in,
Like
how many days?
was it last year, you and Becky and I sat down and we went through
It's
the
been
whole-
updated in the last year and a half or 2 years, so.
Okay.
It's very
Just
current.
one more question, Jody. There was Becky had brought up the fact that something about the dogs, people were bringing their pets in.
Yeah, that's-
Things like that. Is that
The
progressed
draft
any
is at,
further?
I think Becky Reeves right
State's
now
attorney, yeah.
has the draft
Has
of
the
it right
draft right
now.
now.
She's
Well,
working on
I seen a
it.
sign on the door at Walmart the other day when I was out there, and it was some, maybe everybody's seen it too, but it said something about service dog welcome, pets stay home please, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, it's at Becky Reeves right now.
Leave your
Getting-
pets outside, thank you.
It's a work in progress.
Right, it's still working on it, so.
Nikki, I have one question for
Jody.
you. Last fall, you were at the national conference and you received an award. Refresh our memory. What award? I know.
It's a
you won all
meritorious.
of them. This is the last one that you
Yeah,
said.
Meritorious Service Award.
What was it?
Meritorious Service
Meritorious Service.
Award, yeah.
I think I did note that in the minutes when she was in.
That we
Yeah.
did mention.
Yeah, I just
Okay.
couldn't remember which one it
Okay.
was. She's got a whole ball full of them out there.
Yep, yep.
All right, anything else? All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jody.
Have a good day.
All right, our next report will be the community health nurse, and we have a couple of our individuals from that office.
Good morning.
Good morning. If you want to introduce yourself just for
Turn
everyone's.
on your mic there for me. Thank you.
Yes. My name is Cody Martin, and this is Savannah. She is our newest nurse that started with us back in July.
Welcome.
Thanks.
A little bit on us. We continue to see an increase in both pregnant women and children that are seen on WIC. We have had a very large increase of the Spanish-speaking culture that have started residing in Watertown. They have brought not only a lot of their children that are immunized or not immunized that we are immunizing, and we also have quite a few pregnant women that have also come on that are Spanish-speaking as well. So we continue, we have an interpreting service that we use to serve them. We also have we had a lady from the Philippines that we served as well that we were able to use an interpreter for. Right now, obviously, influenza's on the rise. I just printed off the latest influenza report that I got on Friday, and this was as of the week ending in December 28th. At that time, there were a total of 420 new confirmed cases of influenza reported as of that week.
In the state?
In the state, yep, this is all through South Dakota, yep. Influenza B is the more prominent one this year, which is surprising. Normally it's influenza A. As a total, there's been 673 influenza B cases and 430 influenza A cases. So far, we have not had any deaths from influenza. There's been 1,103 confirmed cases and 37 hospitalizations at this point. We have done flu shot clinics in Waverly, Florence, Henry. We held a couple of in our office. One day we opened it to the county. We had 2 different days that we opened it to state employees. We held one for the police department, and we also went out to the Dakota Sioux Casino and held a state flu clinic out there as well for their employees. So.
That's good.
That's great.
Does anyone have any other questions?
What's the vaccine? Is it for all those flu strains? Is that how they try to do it?
Yeah, they normally go off of the flu season, like overseas, because their flu season is a little bit ahead of ours. So that's what they use to try and base off what they think is going to be the most prominent for here. And even though you get the flu shot, you can still get influenza. It decreases your symptom severity and the length of time that you're going to have it. Now, if they totally misjudge and they don't guess the right strain, it's kind of like a guess just for them as well. So, last year, influenza spiked in the third week in February. So normally they say January and February are kind of the spike of flu season, so we haven't even hit that part of it yet.
How long does it take from the time that they're immunized until the time that the shot becomes?
They normally say about 2 weeks for full coverage. I mean, any dose is going to cover you a little bit more, but they normally say about 2 weeks. So we normally push early vaccination as, you know, the best, because it does cover you for a full year. So the sooner you can get it, the better off you are.
So it hasn't even really spiked yet.
No, it hasn't, no. Most of the time it's January, February is when it really spikes, so.
So there's still time.
There is time, yes. You can come to our office anytime and get your flu shot, so.
And remind folks where you're located.
We are located on First, right across from Krantz Insurance. So where Krantz Insurance used to be, that's where we are located. So call and make an appointment. We normally we're fully staffed now in the office. Savannah is working Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And our other nurse, Liza Linneman, is working Mondays and Fridays. She will be going on maternity leave here in just a couple weeks. So we have a nurse from Millbank who's going to come help cover some of those shifts. But for the most part, if it's just you, we can normally get a walk-in as well. So
Very good.
Savannah, where did you come from, or what's your background?
I worked at the Brookings Hospital for 6 years, primarily in labor and delivery.
Did you move up to Watertown?
I don't know.
Oh, you drive it?
I do drive. I live over by Bruce is our address,
Sure.
so rural Bruce area.
Good to have you aboard, Savannah.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
How do you get your interpreters?
we use a service, it's called Language Link.
Okay.
So it's just
And
all.
the state picks up the car?
Yes.
I assume you're getting
Yes.
charged for that?
Yes, I would assume the state is covering that.
Okay.
It's just like a phone service that we call that we can
Okay.
do three-way calls on, so like when our someone can call in and
So
we
you don't
just,
have to have somebody in the office?
No.
Well, that'll cut
We
down
would
on your
love for
cost.
someone to
Well,
be
but
in
that'll cut down,
there.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it will cut down on your cost because
Yep.
interpreters' travel time is
Yes.
very expensive.
We used to
Yes,
have
yep,
a
yep.
language line at the police department. It was
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of the same thing, but they
Okay.
would charge by the minute, I think, so it's very expensive.
I mean, the
Oh, yeah.
interpreters we pay for court things are growing.
Yeah, it's, Language Link is what they have, is
Okay.
normally what they have, but yeah, they have a ton. Like I said, we mainly use Spanish, so that's like the most prominent, but we did have someone from the Philippines that we were able to use as well, so.
There
Good
are apps
information.
that work out.
Yes, yeah.
Google Translate.
Yeah. You know, sometimes in a pinch,
Yeah.
our clerical use it, you know, they're not with them a whole ton out there, so, you know, if we just need like one word, we'll throw it in Google
That's
Translate.
what all it's good for.
Yeah.
Trying to
Yeah.
gather
We hope it's
information.
right.
Yeah, that's basically it, yes.
I have one question.
Yes.
Or just for clarification, you got, down at the bottom, there's Cribs for Kids, which is a good program.
Yes.
But is there a qualification they have to make for that, or just?
They have to be on some type of like an assistance program, so whether they're on WIC or if they're on food stamps or there's like a whole, if they get like energy assistance, there's like a qualification that you do have to meet. It's some type of like assistance program to help with that.
Kind of like income-based?
Kind of. You don't necessarily have to be on WIC in order to receive one. So there's like a list of like 7 different assistance programs that if you're on one of those, you automatically can get a crib from us.
And then, when you get that crib, that's your crib?
Yep, it's,
You don't want it back?
nope. It is a, like a pack and play is what they are. And it has like a top bassinet part that comes with it for moms. So yeah, anyone that can, we normally screen all our pregnant moms that we have on as WIC, normally around between 28 and 32 weeks gestation, just to make sure they have a place. But you don't have to be on WIC in order to get one. So,
Thank you.
yes.
All right.
Any other questions?
No one other?
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. So, since we won't be having a report from the Veteran Service Office today, we will move on to item number 10, and it's action to approve ordering of a highway trucks as budgeted in the 2020 budget, and we'll let Rick explain that.
Good morning.
Morning,
Morning,
Rick.
Rick.
This is to get permission to order the trucks that we're going to buy off the state bid for our fleet.
What kind of trucks are they? What's the-
Freightliner,
I mean, what's the model?
It's a 114.
Do we have information in our packets here on those?
No, I didn't get anything.
Okay.
114, what's the state bid price?
109,696.
And who's it with?
I-State truck.
I-State?
Yes.
Okay. Out of
Sioux Falls.
Sioux Falls? Okay.
They have a
Yep.
place here.
I'll need a copy of all of
Okay.
your
Yep.
paperwork for that, yep.
And if you said how many will we be ordering?
3.
Okay.
And that's the cost
Per truck.
Yeah, that's a basic chassis.
Yeah, that's just the cab and the chassis.
Yeah, that's not even the whole truck.
No.
With wheels and tires.
It's got wheels and tires.
Do we have old trucks that we'll be
an engine.
disposing of?
Not right away.
Okay, all right, sounds good, just as long as we get
Because
that.
we're gonna keep some of the older trucks that these are gonna replace.
Okay,
To have a couple extra
okay,
trucks at the time, because we've got one older truck that we probably will be getting rid of somewhere along the line.
okay,
So,
all right.
All right.
Go ahead. I just have to ask you here.
I was going to tell Charlie something.
You'll be back.
To answer your question, Charlie, why they're Detroits in those trucks?
Yeah.
That's what went on the state bid.
Yeah, I followed that yesterday. We had a conversation, and I can understand why that's on the state bid.
Yep, that's all they had on the state bid was the Detroit, so.
Yeah, Detroit is always a little bit cheaper than the Cummins.
All right. Is there any other information? If not, I will look for a motion and a second on that.
I'll make the motion.
I would
Motion
second
by
that.
Gable, second by Waterman. Any further discussion?
Just want to emphasize, this is a budgeted item.
Yes, this is a budgeted item. And we'll have to, I'm coming up with a bid for the boxes that go on them, so that'll be coming up down the road here a little ways.
How long before they can get these to you? Is there a timeline?
from a couple weeks to a couple months.
Okay,
So we could get one here in a couple weeks, and
okay.
the rest could be in a couple weeks, or a couple months.
They have to build them, or what's?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And it just depends, you know, they make so many, and if a dealer calls for them, they can get them. If not,
It's called
Gotta wait.
on-time manufacturing.
Now, these they'll have sanders on them?
no. Our sanders we put in the trucks.
Yeah.
They're a hanging sander, but these trucks
They'll eventually,
they'll get moved
Get
to our
down.
plow trucks.
Yeah.
Right away. So,
how about, you got plenty of plows?
yeah, we've got plenty of plows.
Good.
Unfortunately, we may need it. Any other questions?
I don't talk like that.
Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. You're also, item number 11, action to approve a notice to bidders for the 2020 highway supplies and weed chemicals.
This is for our concrete pipe, metal pipe, bridge plank, diesel and ethanol, liquid asphalt, pea gravel, gravel crushing, asphalt patching material, and then for Steve's weed chemical.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Gable, second by Van Duzen. Any further discussion? Pretty
This is the
typical.
notice to bidders,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
Pretty typical process that we do every year.
Sent you the specs. and,
Yep, yep, I have it, everything.
All right,
Question, Rick, excuse me.
go ahead, that's fine.
Madam Chairman. The liquid asphalt, is that road oil?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries also. Item number 12, action to adopt a resolution setting the seasonal county road limits and speed limits.
This is for the state DOT to help monitor our roads for overweight vehicles.
This is an annual resolution where we ask for help from the Highway Patrol during our spring thaw.
And it goes,
And Rick has designated the spring thaw period from February 15th to May 1st.
7 tons per axle.
Yep, and that's always subject to change a little bit, you know, when we put the load limits on, depending on the weather. If it warms up, you know, like from the 15th of February. We'll put them on then. If it's not quite as warm, usually it's around the middle of March is when we put them on, but it's all depend on
It's
the weather.
weather driven.
And then the last couple of years, the 1st of May, they have not come off. It's been closer to the end of May.
So it looks like 40 miles per hour truck speed limit with
Yes.
7 tons per axle is what the resolution here is for. I'd make a motion to.
We have a motion by Van Duzen, second by Gable. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries as well. I think that's it for you, Rick. I would just want to pass on, I had a constituent approach me and wanted to commend you on your snow removal after our snow events this past week. So I appreciate hearing those good comments and keep up the good work.
Well, thank you. Because
Thanks, Rick.
I had one yesterday that thought we only plowed up to the sheriff's driveway, so.
That's, you can never be right, right? There's
You're
always
right,
some-
as
there's
long as
always
you
going to be
get the
somebody
weather
that's
that way.
upset.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep,
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Item number 13, discussion, possible action to appoint the Title VI coordinator. What is that, Jim?
Our Title VI coordinator is currently Jim Sutton. I don't know if you want to just go ahead with this, if you want to talk to Jamie to see if he'd be open to
think we
taking.
should table
Yep.
It's not something that's really part of his job description, but Jim did take it on a number of years ago when we were required, so you might want to talk to Jamie beforehand to see if he'd be willing. I don't think it's a very extensive job. Jim could tell you when you speak with him, but
Yeah, just probably
we have to
updating
have
that.
one to comply with federal grant funding.
It isn't something that we need to decide today.
No.
We can put this
Nope.
off, so I
Nope.
think too, maybe it's better to have them both present.
Speak
And
to somebody
Is
first.
that something that the secretary, Jim's secretary, would be familiar with? That if Jamie was decided Jamie could take this on?
I would talk to Jamie or Jim directly.
I talked to
Yeah,
Jim
I
a while
think-
back.
Yeah,
And
see if
Jim-
Jamie's open to it, you know.
Right. And I think she assists in the process.
According to Jim, Jamie would consider doing it. As
You
my
can take
conversation with...
you can take action
Jim.
today if you want to, if you feel confident that Jamie's on board with it, or you could wait and talk to him, whatever you want to do.
I think we could take action on it.
I would make that a motion that we...
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any other discussion?
So the motion is to,
Appoint Jamie.
Appoint Jamie
Jamie
as
is-
our Title VI.
Title VI coordinator.
Yep. And basically, all it requires us to do is have a coordinator and publish a notice in January of each year, so
What if he decides he doesn't want to do
it's a
this?
formality for grant funding.
All right, well,
We can readdress.
We need
I
to
guess,
vote.
any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries as well. Item number 14, action to authorize the chair to sign a joint funding agreement with the U.S. Geological Survey. Cindy, you want to explain that?
This is a funding agreement that we have entered into for a number of years. It's for flood monitoring stations and water gauges on the Big Sioux River near Florence, Mud Creek near Rawville, and the south branch of the tributary of the Mud Creek near Rawville. Precipitation gauges at Waverly and South Shore. The cost to the county is $9,835 for this year. We have budgeted that amount. And I just need to see if you want to go ahead, continue with the monitoring.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Have a motion by Van Duzen, second by Johnson. Any further discussion?
Is that a 60-40 split?
I don't think,
looks kind of like
I don't know.
The
Different.
total combination is
17,330.
17,330, so
Yeah, let me do,
that's what it looks like, Charlie, 60/40.
Like 60-40 split?
Yeah,
let me see.
because 9,835 would be our contribution.
56, 44
Okay.
is what my math, my
Well, 60
calculator.
didn't seem quite right, but-
It's pretty close, so, yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Yep.
and this is something that we have been in agreement, and it is very beneficial. Keeping
Necessary.
track of all of those levels when, in the spring.
This is
so-
an excellent tool.
Yep. So we have a motion and a second.
Yes.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries also. Number 15, action to approve the list of deputy reserves for workers' compensation insurance.
We have, the sheriff has submitted 5 names for the reserve list. Kelly Ulrich, Wes Jennings, Bryce Lawrence, Megan Olson, and Terry Sorensen. And annually, for workers' comp purposes, we need to approve this list, which will be kept on file in my office.
I'll make a motion to
A
approve.
motion by Gables. Do I have a second?
I'd second that.
Second by Waterman. Any further discussion on that?
And we will also have a list coming for the search and rescue team.
These are all volunteers, correct?
These are all deputy reserves, correct? They do not get paid.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries also. Item number 16, action to designate legal newspapers for county publications.
Cottington County has 2 legal newspapers. We are required to publish in both of those. That would be the Watertown Public Opinion and the South Shore Gazette, and this has been in effect for many years.
I'll move to continue with those 2 newspapers.
Motion by Johnson, second by Van Duzen. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries also. Item number 17, action to set commissioner salaries for 2020.
Currently, the board receives $1,854.99 per month, and the chairman receives an additional $100 per month for administrative signing of everything, basically.
I had a conversation with Terry Satterley earlier. Well, I think he did talk with us when we were working on negotiations, and his recommendation at that time was to continue as we have in the last 2 or 3 years. Something like that is to give the commission the same increase as the employees, which would in this case be 1.75%. That was the number that we had settled on.
Well, I'd make that motion then, so to
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Gable, second by Johnson.
just so people understand what we're talking about here. So we're talking about our salaries,
Yeah.
and we're just talking about using the same increase, which is 1.75% that we, COLA increase,
Yep.
that we are giving to basically all the county employees. So
Which amounts to $32.46 per month. And do you want to add to that motion $100 for the chairman or not? Which has been the practice in the past.
I wasn't going to, but can I make that amendment to Lee's motion?
Let's just vote on this, and then we'll have a second motion.
All right.
Fine.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
I'm opposed.
I would make
Seriously,
You're
I'm opposed. I'm
to
opposed to it.
$32?
Yeah, I don't think we need a raise.
Oh,
Keep it where it's at.
Okay, I'm sorry. So Troy votes
moved
no.
too
I'm sorry.
fast.
Sorry.
I will have you, okay.
As a no.
What was it, 32 what?
46.
$32.46.
You can give it to the United Way.
I already give to the United Way.
All right. So then what is your thoughts on the other part, I guess, that you wanted to separate off?
That would be the $100 for the chairman, which has been in effect for a very long time.
Yeah.
I would make a motion to follow in tradition for in the past, what we've done, to pay the chairman an extra $100 a month.
Okay. We have a motion by Waterman. Do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
All right. We have a second to that motion. Any further discussion?
I guess it might, just so people understand, why we do that is, I mean, maybe Commissioner Johnson has some good, some perspective.
Occasionally, I've had to call Myron in during the week to stop in my office and sign plats or whatever else I may need. And he's always, when he's available, he's always stopped in occasionally. I mean, that's, and then there is the signing of all the vouchers that you have to.
If you take a look at the number of forms I've signed in the last, I don't know how long I've been chair, 3 or 4 years, whatever it is, it's hundreds of them.
There's added responsibilities there.
And then every payroll period, we won't have we had 2 before, now it won't be that.
It won't be, no. The
since we
mid-month
have-
draw has been dropped, but those were not a lot of,
Yeah, we consolidated that a little
Yeah.
bit, but it usually takes almost an hour at least every time I do that, to sit down, do all the stamping and then, yeah, you make yourself available to Cindy so you can get the plats signed. And
plats that need to be signed.
But there's people that, like-
ASAP, yeah.
we just had one the other day that had to be done by the end of the year, so I came
Yep.
in on New Year's Eve
Yep.
and got it signed before the place closed up here, so you're always on call.
Any further discussion? All right, we're ready to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries as well. Item number 18, action to set compensation for the 2020 election judges.
Currently, election judges are paid $150 to sit on election day and $50 for attending election schools. In order to remain, or in order to keep up with the statewide trend, I would recommend paying $175 for election day and leaving the schooling at $50.
All right, you heard the auditors.
Make a motion.
And part of that is it's incentive, because some of our longtime election workers are deciding it's time to hang it up, and we do need to start drawing a new pool of workers.
Motion
I
to
would second Troy's.
We have a motion by Van Dusen, second by Waterman, to increase it to $175 for election day and leave $50 for the schools.
Correct.
Any further
How much
discussion?
of an increase is, excuse me, how much of an increase is that?
$25, well,
Well, it's $25.
$25.
Percent-wise,
Yeah, it's not
yeah,
much.
it's not much, yeah. For what they have to, I mean, it's a long time sitting there from, you have to be there a little after 6 in the morning, you're there till 7:30 at night, you can't leave the building, you put up with some disgruntled voters.
Oh, come on.
There's a number of things that you have to put up with.
And we are having issues
Fire
trying to...
alarms going off
Yeah.
during the election, everybody had to run outside one time. People coming in wearing campaign T-shirts and hats that are not allowed, and then they get, yeah, it's not a fun job all the
Yeah.
time.
And we are having trouble trying to fill some of those, so I guess
Right, like I
hopefully...
said, some of our longtime people just cannot sit there that long anymore. So, not that they're required to sit there, they're allowed to get up and walk around, they just can't leave the building, and it's a long day.
Yeah. Any other
Thank
discussion?
them for their service, that's for
Right,
sure.
Absolutely. Any others? Ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries also. Action to set the coroner's compensation.
Coroner's compensation is currently $175 per call plus mileage, and we've had this rate for the last 2 years. Prior to that, I believe he was getting $150, and that was for a number of years he received that. Right now, it's at $175.
What is the mileage that gets paid?
The mileage is the,
County
State rate or?
mileage.
he should be getting the state rate because he's an elected official.
Oh, yeah.
So whatever that's, I'm not sure what the state rate is, is it 40, 45, 48?
Yeah, something like that.
But because he's an elected official,
He gets the
he's
state
not
rate.
allowed.
Okay,
And you know, I don't remember the last time he turned mileage in.
right.
Yeah, he's
Usually
very good.
It happens to be Dr. Lawrence at this
It is
time.
Dr. Lawrence is our elected coroner, correct?
All right, so I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve,
Well,
or,
whatever rate you
yeah,
want.
whatever rate, I guess, if you want to stay with the 175.
I'll make a motion to approve that and stay at 175.
Motion by Van Dusen. Have a second.
I'll second.
Second by Gable. Any further discussion?
Yeah, one thing that I would note is if you look at the budget this past year, there's more people, there's more calls for coroner than there has been over the past years. That has steadily increased. Just share a little history with you, and that is that a lot of people can't afford to spend their last days in a nursing home or whatever, and they're spending them at home and dying at home, and dying alone at home. And once there's an unattended death, then the coroner has to come in, and I mean that's law. And I don't know if you have those numbers, but
I
it's,
don't have, no.
but it's amazingly is how much it has.
It's growing each year, especially with drug-related deaths,
Yeah,
suicides.
yeah. So, you know, and I don't think the $25 is gonna make that much difference here right now, but something that we keep an eye on, it's kind of like court-appointed attorneys. You know, we don't have a handle on that, you know, but it's amazing at how many times that coroner gets called out.
It'd be good to track
Commissioner
that.
Water, oh,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is there an age limit, you know, if it's at like 1 to 70, you have to have this, and 70 and above you don't, or?
As far as a call out?
Cases, yeah, for the coroner.
No, I mean, I've been on scenes where we've called the coroner and he said, well, does everything look okay? And you say, yeah, and he says, okay, you're clear to move the body.
Yeah, I mean, I've
so,
been asked
and I don't know if those calls are being billed or not, but,
Yeah, I don't know, I could not
you
tell
know.
you that for sure, but yeah, in the event that the coroner is unavailable, I believe the job technically falls to the state's attorney.
I believe so there is a call list.
Yeah, there is.
Procedure, right down to the sheriff's office eventually.
Correct.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
Commissioner Gable, did you
I
have
was just going to say, it'd be interesting just to look at the numbers over the years, I mean, just to graph it out and see what it looks like.
Well, if you look at the budget, I
Yeah, I'll
can provide
do
you with
that.
the budget reports, you
Yeah.
can see that. And then the costs, like some of these last unattended deaths we had, I think they were probably drug-related. Apparently, we couldn't get the testing on the deceased here in Watertown. We had to use the Rapid City Regional Hospital for a number of those tests, and they were not, autopsies are not inexpensive either.
No.
and Charlie, just to answer your question for clarification, what I was referring to there is if it's a 90-year-old person and they're in a rocking chair and they pass away, you know, something like that, not a type of scene where it's a drug
autopsy would
overdose
not
or
be required.
right, or
Right.
something that's,
Right.
you
Yes.
know,
Yes.
something like that, so.
Suspicious deaths,
Right,
suspicious
right.
deaths
Any
or
inkling at all,
drug-related
then-
deaths will probably boost those
We're going to
costs.
generate those costs.
Suspicious deaths.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not natural.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries as well. Item number 20, action to approve the Commissioner Board appointments. Y'all received that. Is there any changes or everyone okay with how it is?
I'd make a motion to approve the appointments as published in our handout and the chart there.
All right.
Lee,
I would
do you still
second
have
that.
this available? Oh, sorry, Charlie.
I mean,
Second.
You second it, please. Okay.
Sorry. Do you still have this available? I cannot.
Sure.
I mean, you
Yeah, I think
created this, I do not.
I just reformatted it from what we had before.
I cannot find it in
Oh,
my
like a Word.
documents at
Yeah.
all, so if you could resend that to me, I looked
Yep,
okay.
if you remind
Right
me.
here?
online, I want a Word
Just
document.
an electronic
Yeah.
copy.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I have this one, I'm not sure where I got it from.
Well, somebody changed the heading to 2020.
Either, well then, heck,
You must have it
I
somewhere.
must have it somewhere, but I couldn't find it because I couldn't remember what I named it.
Yeah, I think
All right.
it kind of remains.
Let me try
Yeah,
to
just
take a
send
look.
it to me
Chair and
anyway.
vice chair.
All right. We have a motion in a second.
Okay, I was just looking at this. There isn't any changes as far as like Myron and I swapping with chair and vice chair. They're all pretty much vice and chair on these committees, I believe, so. Okay, no other discussion. All in favor, say.
Okay, wait. Prior, a week or two ago, one of you came to me with, I don't know if it was a request or you were wondering if we were going to review these more in depth or look at maybe, did anyone wish to make some changes? I know they came to me and asked how we were going to handle this. And I said that,
I don't know if I don't remember that particular conversation. We talked a little bit about the legislative contact person. That's, you and I talked about that. Is that maybe what you're thinking of? And you're the person
Yeah.
on that one, so.
So Myron, on the very last item here, do you have to run for reelection to the SDRS or what?
oh,
That was
I'm-
last
no,
year.
I did, and I'm in
Okay.
SDRS
so
for the
that
next 3 years.
Should be changed to 20,
Well, it'll be,
many years?
3 years, so it'd
Okay,
be
2022?
2023 probably.
Do we need to amend, I mean, is
I don't know,
that,
Glenn, how long are we on? 3 years, right?
I think you and I are both on until 2023, because we were both just elected this
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
that's kind of an FYI section
Yeah.
of the thing.
Well,
That's
I'll
not,
update it.
yeah,
Just
so-
update it.
That runs in
The other
coordination with your
thing,
term?
the other thing is, we did not get the Housing and
No.
No, I mean,
Development
the
Board taken
commissioner's
care
term?
of last year for our board
don't think
members,
so.
other than this board.
Homer.
So that's something I'm gonna have to look at. I did not put it on this agenda because I didn't have time to look at it.
Okay.
I think we're gonna need to appoint some people from outside this
I
board
didn't hear you.
to remain in compliance. So I think I put that on the agenda for next week.
That Regional Railroad Authority, that's pretty taxing, isn't it, Harley? I don't
Oh,
know if we-
there's just hours and hours involved in that.
All right.
All right, any other
just,
discussion?
Madam Chair, just so people know that are watching what we're talking about, this is a list basically of all the liaison duties, kind of like legislative oversight, for lack of a better term you might have heard, for the different county departments that each of us commissioners divvy up, and then also some of the community board and committee assignments that we have. Sometimes they're county committee, things like the Justice Advisory Committee. Sometimes it's something that's, with a city, a community type committee. So there's a list there, and we can furnish that. So that's what we're talking about.
Hey, the only other comment that I'd make is that I know, for example, I'll use the Buildings and Grounds. And I know many times someone from the Buildings and Grounds Committee I don't want them to feel slighted, but they would come to me with a problem and they needed an answer now. And I would make that decision, but I would try to always inform Commissioner Waterman of what was going on. Sometimes you have to make a decision split moment, and that's going to happen. But at least keep that liaison. They're the ones that are supposed to be making those decisions, and Buildings and Grounds is just a little bit fuzzy in that, for example, the Cudahy County Extension Center falls under Buildings and Grounds. But I've been the liaison to the extension, which primarily does all the functions out there. And so, like I said before, I and Jody and Becky sat down and went through all of the charges that we have for, leasing that facility out there. I don't know if I was overstepping my boundary, or if the Buildings and Grounds person should have been doing that. So sometimes things get a little bit fuzzy. And I don't, that's just...
Well, I think as the chair, I think you have the authority to make that ultimate decision anyway, as a chair.
I will tell you that when we receive a call from the public wanting to know a certain issue, maybe who their county commissioner is, we will give them the commissioner for the district that's involved or for the type of department that's involved. And then we also tell them, if you cannot get a hold of that person, we also give them the chairman's name as a second resort. So
I was kind of at the disadvantage that I probably knew most everybody in Cottington County, so they would just call me.
Well, and this is just a little bit with Memorial Park. We were just talking Buildings and Grounds here for the rest of your information. Myron and I talked about this. I talked to Jeff about this and the sheriff about this. And we've got an empty house out there that we're being heated now minimally, but the traps have all the water traps have been taken care of, winterized. Brad Howell had a good idea. He said when he goes on vacation, he automatically winterizes his traps, and it's something I never would have thought about doing. The sheriff recommended that we do not plow the snow up there so that you can see if there's any, when they go up there, if there's any things going on.
So yeah, back to this, I don't know, do you feel necessary for me to read everyone and
No.
what they're, okay.
No.
If it's
It's
available,
on file in the auditor's
Okay,
office if
so-
anybody wants, yeah.
if anyone in the
I
public
may
would
not
like to know.
publish this entire list either.
Okay.
I just may note that it's on file because
Right. Is it something we could put on our
Could you
website?
just add it to the minutes? Yeah, it's good to put on the
The
Put on the
document
website.
it's hard for our newspapers to incorporate it into our minutes, but I'll try.
Or we can put it on the
Well,
website.
just on the website, I think, just for people's information. If-
Under the commissioner section of the,
Yep.
You know, let's go ahead and vote on
Okay.
that. That's another discussion.
All right, so we have a motion and a second on that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries also. Did you want to talk about that now or further down?
People go to that website and they don't realize what tab they need to go to get like minutes and the agenda and the video
we can fix
playback.
I think we can
We
fix that.
we may need something
Yeah.
in our,
We can
yeah,
easily fix that.
on the welcome page, we may need something. I said, well, you just got to hover over the commissioners tab and it'll all drop down, but
I'll touch on the website stuff.
we need a little bit more
It says,
information.
I was going to say, we,
Get your minutes here.
Yes, yes, yeah.
all right, item number 21, action to approve the bank depositories for 2020 and authorized warrant signers.
The treasurer recommends using ReliaBank for checking and the depositing of cash, and the other banks listed will be authorized to sell the county certificates of deposit and for investments at competitive bids. And those banks are Dakota Bank, First Bank and Trust, First Premier Bank, Great Western Bank, Midwest Bank, Plains Commerce Bank, ReliaBank Dakota, South Dakota Fit, and Wells Fargo Bank. And then the authorized check signers will be the auditor's staff, the treasurer, deputy treasurer, and second deputy treasurer. And we decided not to publish those names for security purposes.
Move to approve.
Got a motion by Johnson, second by Waterman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Review of the delinquent tax list, item number 22.
I am in possession of those. If anyone wants to look at those, they are right here. If you want me to pass them around, I can do that. They'll be on file anytime you want to see them.
What's the dollar amount? Any idea?
Let's see. For real estate,
Quite a bit, I think. 40,000?
real estate, $555,206.84.
People out there
And
pay your taxes.
For mobile homes, that amount is, apparently it does not generate an amount on this report.
Okay.
But I'm not so sure that this amount is not already in this page. So in the scheme of things, that's not a large amount. We normally collect 98 to 99% of our property taxes.
That's good. All right, item number 23, action to approve the 211 program MOU and authorization for the chair to sign the applications. And I'm here to report that we now have all the partners have signed the MOU. All of you were sent an email of the MOU, and we are the last ones to sign, and then the application, and we can go forward.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Have a motion by Van Duzen, second by Gable. Any further discussion?
What was that final number?
The final number that each of the partners will pay is $3,279.75, and this is for a 3-year commitment.
That is a heck of a deal
Yes, it's
for Cottington County.
a very good program for us to be able
That
to.
will include a yearly report so we can review, and we can opt out after 1 year if we wish.
Well, we want to give it 3 years because 1 year probably isn't going to be enough data because we're going to be a short year. But after the 3 years is when we basically will have
There
the
is a
chance.
duration of agreement. I
Yep.
thought I laid these on your desks. Did I not get that?
I know that
I
you
got it.
forwarded them on Friday to the
Okay,
email.
yeah, duration of
so-
agreement
Yes,
is 3
I got it.
years.
Yep,
And we're
it is
hoping
a
to have
3-year.
that online by February 11th.
Yeah, we're hoping. So 211 Day,
That's the,
Oh, yeah.
211 Day in South Dakota is February 11th, and so we're hoping to be able to roll this out on that day, so it's.
but the
we wanna keep
duration of
moving.
agreement in the MOU is 3
3
years.
years.
Just for your information. Okay.
Yeah.
This is also being backed by the state, is that correct?
Yes.
State is
Because they
a
are doing the
50% match.
50% match for counties, so. And it didn't sound like that was going away anytime too soon, because when Hugh was here and we asked the question, they are actually adding to that line budget because they are hoping that more counties will come on board, so they have enough state funding to help do that match, so.
So, well, I understand it, Charlie, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brenda and Lisa, but it's a $26,000 deal. The state is matching half of that,
Yep.
which would be, so it'd
I
be
got the numbers.
13,000 and some odd dollars. You split that by 4 entities, and then that's what our portion is. Is that 3,200?
26,238, the half that the state and we are paying is 13,119.
Yeah.
So that's how we come up with that number. It's driven by population.
Just one other note, and there's also a provision in the MOU that I think there might be a few other organizations in the community that over the next, those 3 years might want to contribute. And so that would reduce that $3,279.75 a little bit
Yeah.
for the rest of us,
It
for
could.
the parties of this.
As we go forward, that,
The question was brought up at the city council meeting last night, whether or not the state was looking at possibly cutting the funding for that program, but that is actually a budget line in the
social service.
Department of Social Services.
Did you,
I guess we could have invited
did you
Lisa
read
up.
who the partners are?
Oh, I did not, but I
Okay,
will.
let's do
So,
that. Yep.
the partners of the 211 is Cottington County, City of Watertown, United Way, and Prairie Lakes Hospital. So,
We are also would accept more partners.
And that's part of the MOU.
It's an
Anybody who
open
wants to
entity.
commit is entitled to.
yep, and we've had several entities, voice that might be an interest, so we'll just.
And for those of you that don't understand or know what 211 is, I guess, Madam Chair, can we have Lisa
Yes,
come up?
We'll have Lisa
And,
Dahl come up and just do a little explanation.
since you're here, Lisa,
the
instead of us
volunteer.
trying to
Sure.
give a definition, it would probably be better if you did. You probably understand it.
Well,
And introduce yourself.
okay, I'm Lisa Dahl, and I'm the Executive Director for United Way, and we are also one of the partners on the MOU, whatever, our agreement that we have. It's a blended call center, and so by that meaning, they do informational help and then also crisis intervention. And so the volunteers, they do not have volunteers answering the phone. Those are trained staff personnel. And the calls are 24/7. They answer the calls. They're able to do, if it was like a suicide type situation, a crisis situation, they do a follow-up within 24 hours. They get those folks directed to, mental health counseling or different services that they're going to need for that. In the event that it would become an emergency and law enforcement would need to be involved, then they will get that to the 911 center and get the police dispatched to those situations. So it's a human connection that's provided. So, if you go on, I think, one of their examples was going on and you're Googling food. Well, it might pull up all the businesses that you can go to and purchase meals. And maybe not so much the food banks and the churches that are having free meals on certain days and how those things work. So everything from that to, I need to get a new sticker on my driver's license, where do I go, what are the hours at the courthouse, what do I need to bring with me? Those are kind of some of the services too. So it's just a really great deal for Cottington County, for our residents. The tiers, the 3 tiers that they have listed is the basic human needs resources, your mental health and health resources, and disaster response. So in the event that there would be a disaster, it would be very beneficial for our county to have, because they are collecting these stats that would be needed to get federal help going. And so instead of emergency management having to dive into 19 different spreadsheets and collect this data that's needed for federal assistance, 211 would just virtually be able to hand that over to them and we could get the process going quicker. So multifaceted, there's a lot of benefits to it, and
It's going to be great for our emergency management director to not have to worry about collecting all that data. In the event of an emergency, of course, they can streamline that resource by doing it themselves instead of having our local entities have to do that. In addition to that, it's also going to be a refreshing for our 911 call center to not take a lot of those Call center,
non-emergent, yeah.
non-emergency, so.
You know, I think the other thing is a lot of our key first responder personnel in our county have gotten a lot of information about 211 Helpline Center ever since the match came about through legislation. And so really on board, you know, our fire chief, our police chief, our emergency management personnel. And so as our community becomes more educated and understanding of what the 211 helpline has to offer them, the more calls that'll likely be generated. And so that's kind of why we asked for a 3-year commitment from the parties, was so that we would be able to have some good data to show our return on our investments.
Yes, this will be a very welcome benefit to our residents, and, you know, because a lot of times, like we've talked about, you know, food might be their initial issue, but as they talk to them, they realize maybe there's other things going on too, that they'll be able to help these individuals, and before things get too far into and make things more cumbersome for them.
Right.
So,
and anytime you're in crisis, your mind isn't thinking as crisp as when you're not in crisis, and so it's harder to reach out for the help you need, and sometimes you don't even know what you need until you have that human connection. And so I think that's a huge benefit for our community, our county.
yeah, I had a story said, just, and I'm going to make this brief, that an individual had individuals come into a church, and their immediate need was food, but then the little children are sitting over on the heater getting warm while they're waiting for that to happen. So, you know, it's just little subtle things like that that are really also happening. But anyway, it will be a great asset. I think we're going to all be very appreciative after we get this up and
Thanks
going.
for your work on that, Lisa.
Thanks for your support, and thanks for your work, Brenda. You know, she kind of championed it on behalf of the county, and there's been many partners, that we can call out, the hospital, the city, and all of you. So thank you.
Thank you.
City representative as well, and we appreciate them being on board last night. So, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Item number 24, action to approve a revised Memorial Clark Park Campground Manager's contract.
Well, I've been garnering some information on that and talking to a few people, and this is a bigger project than what I thought it would be. And so I would like to have that postponed until next week.
Okay.
I had sent out a copy to all the commissioners asking for some feedback, but I didn't get any, so I don't know
I sent
what your
some to you.
thoughts are. Okay. Must have went to my spam email because I never got it, but I'll double check that again.
It was the holidays and there was a lot of things going on and people.
But I had Becky take a look at that contract, and the only thing that she recommended was that we change it from 30 days to 60 days as far as termination of that contract. So if anybody has any recommendations, get them to Charlie and I, and get them in there so we can get it approved. We'd like to get it approved ASAP because we're into the first of the year.
If we can make that, can we make that change? I mean, I'm the one who kind of tweaks some of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we
so
certainly could. I mean, I've already changed it in the contract that I sent back to Cindy to email it back to you, so it's already in there. But is there something else, Charlie, that you need to change?
No, there wasn't. I
in
just
there?
didn't get a chance to look it over and too many
Well,
things going
if
on.
that's the case, I'm comfortable with it because I'm familiar with it, so.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
I-
the only thing that we changed in that was from 30 days to 60 days, in case, there was something not working out, then we could extend that out, so.
I'm trying to think, the one thing that I noted in there is that, I don't have it in front of me, but I sent the change to you as in reference to notifying the city, state, and county, and I don't know if we need it's a county park. I can't remember what, it was,
Without having it in front of me, I don't know
it
what
was,
exactly.
I get the facilities
Part
manager
two.
thing, I don't have the,
Part
I'm familiar
two.
with the thing. 'cause
it was in
I'm editing it,
in the
but
writing or in the,
I can find it.
Okay, well, why don't we just put this on for
Continue it,
next
because
week?
There were some
and-
questions I had too. Also, maybe we need a little bit more specific dates.
There was dates that were in there, and there was rent payment and stuff, you know, because we had talked about adding that for the house once the park closed for the season and that sort of thing. That information was not in there because that's going to have to be determined on a
Okay.
case-by-case basis. So the contract dates aren't able to be put into the contract, obviously.
Okay, maybe
And
that's
then
what my
we need to,
concerns
as a
were.
commission, decide what
Okay.
that fee is going to be if we're going to.
So that will be
So-
something, yeah, depending on individuals and, yeah, like you
Right.
say, kind of a case-by-case.
Right.
Personally, I want to thank Commissioner Waterman and Van Duzen for working on that, though, because like you said, it entailed more than what you thought it was, right?
Well, it is a lot bigger thing, and we kind of were surprised last go-around, and we just needed to take a better look at that situation.
So on the 29th, Cindy had emailed that out, and that was the last correspondence I had, that was the draft copy, just looking for soliciting input from everybody else on that. And
Was that before
the
this?
termination of the contract from 60 days to 30 days was the difference. So,
I remember seeing that.
Oh, yeah. I remember making some suggestions. I think
December
those are all
29th,
incorporated.
and we did those.
Yeah, those are all in there, yeah.
So I actually have the draft here on my phone, so.
Well, why don't we
Well,
need a
okay,
motion
so
to-
what do we want to do with
Sounds like
this?
we
I mean, are we,
I
Comfortable?
think it's good. I mean, we had Becky
Hold
look it
on,
over,
hold on,
and
just a
she's
minute,
good,
I'm
but.
gonna Look at it here.
Do we need a motion to put that on next week's agenda, or?
No, I'll just continue it
No,
if
we'll
you
just-
have questions, yeah.
we've been having it on the agenda for some time, so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, I've
just,
just been continuing it until we,
But see, these, for, during the time period of blank to blank, I mean, that's going to change, so that's
Okay.
why those are on there.
but I mean, I don't know that you can okay.
I mean, you have to,
Go to
You have to
Roman
fill
numeral,
those in.
Roman numeral number 2, vendor services, that section, Troy, okay?
Number 2, you said?
yeah,
Two.
number
Okay.
2.
All right.
And as you read down through it, it says, at all times and in all matters in accordance with the standards acceptable to the state and federal laws, city ordinance. I don't know if we need to have city ordinance in there, and county guidelines, including the
Well,
county.
it does sit within the city of Watertown.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's,
and I think that's why we put
The
that in
property,
there.
Because we
the
would-
property is in the city of Watertown.
anything that we do, we need to
Yep.
adhere to the city
That was my question
ordinance.
that I
Yeah.
had for you.
It's
Yeah.
misleading, but it's
And-
county-owned property that sits in the city of Watertown.
And that's why we had left that
There
in
was one
there.
other one that was basically just, I think it was just a wording thing, and I don't know where that was.
I think it
Oh,
was-
yeah, I know what it was. As I paged down here, selling firewood and operate the campground, I didn't see anything in there, and I don't know if we need to have it in there, but it was a question that came up when we were meeting with Milo and Carol Asher about sales tax license. They will.
That's
be-
the responsibility of the vendor.
It's a responsibility of the vendor, so the vendor responsibility,
that's in there.
That's in there.
It is?
Yeah, we had that in there, I just
It's
got
in
to
there.
find
The
it.
other thing that, since
It was
I
under
was going
conversation.
to, I think I made a lot of the textual recommendations on this.
There's a little bit of misspelling in it yet.
What?
Vendor is spelled wrong in one place.
Oh, okay.
Would
Oh,
that
what?
be
Oh, this,
under
oh,
the
yeah, it is.
person?
Charlie drafted this for the record.
No, no, I did it. That's my fault. No, I see.
Just one place.
Yeah, I see where it is.
Okay,
It's
all
number,
right.
paragraph 4.
But if you have any
Oh, wow.
questions, there's no
Oh, yeah.
rush on this.
There
I think
So maybe
Yeah,
let it
sounds
go
like
for
sure,
one more
yeah.
week
just to
and,
go one more
Like to get
week.
it done,
But
so
yes,
if we can
okay.
do it
Let's make
next
it-
week.
it's
So
do or die next
get it
week, we're gonna do
Sales
it.
tax and pointed out to me, I still can't
Let's
find it.
find out if we
That
can
sales tax
adopt
part.
a contract with those blank dates in there.
Well, I
This
think,
is the contract that's going to change from year to year, though.
I know.
So if we,
Well,
this is not the contract for the upcoming year.
think
This
it's
is the
part of-
template for the contract that we're going to finalize.
and I mean, that's something we should be diligent about when we agree to award the contract. that
Then we'll
those
fill
dates
those
need to be
dates
filled
in.
in. I mean, that's
Okay.
something we'd want to be diligent about,
Alright.
so.
Yeah.
I'll find that for you.
we'll continue
Myra.
this till next week.
All right, sounds good.
That's all right.
You know, with all due diligence, yes, we did need to change that, but we can't overthink this too and make it too complicated.
Well, it's pretty simple if you read through it right now.
All right, so we will do this next week for sure, so be prepared. Action number 25, item number 25, action to approve claims for payment.
Last Monday, the second to the last business day of the year, we had a claim come in for our it's our final payment for the building upgrades we did in 2005. And because there were funds available in the budget, in the 2019 budget, I determined that it would be in our best interest to pay this $46,000 bill and get it through the 2019 business, not knowing what's coming in 2020. So this is our final payment to Wells Fargo for the updates over $1 million of updates that we did in 2005 for heating, cooling, updates to the buildings. So
The EVAC system.
I determined it would be in our best interest to pay this, so we did. So I just need to have you approve this after the
Move to
fact.
approve.
Moved by
I'll second.
Johnson, seconded by Gable. Any further discussion?
So this is that, this was basically the last,
Build.
it was the last bit of debt, the only debt that the county's been
Yes,
carrying, so this
it
is
is.
paying, this is
It is. This
retiring
is our
that.
last bit of debt. You're correct. Yep.
Do we
And
have a
it's
mortgage burning?
no mortgage that I'm aware of. Yeah, just because there were funds available, not knowing what 2020 is bringing, we just decided, and this will help keep us
So-
under our
and the-
40% surplus.
And the terms of that loan agreement basically allow us to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So we're debt-free now?
Except for a few copier leases, yeah.
Okay.
Those copier,
P.O., did you get that? County's debt-free.
the copier.
All right.
There's a
Do the difference
printout
screen.
in the packet, and I don't know where I saw it, but we're paying tremendous interest on that state's attorney's copier.
There's 2 copiers within our
We have
organization.
one
that
isn't bad, but the other one is just terrible.
every time we're audited, our auditors ask me, do you realize how much you're paying in lease fees? And yes, I'm aware, but the departments choose to lease rather than buy. The one I just went through, I purchase.
Have we done the math on that? Have we figured out
I can
purchase
show you.
versus lease? I mean, I'm sure,
I can show you.
Is
It's a
there,
lot less money to buy.
Oh, definitely.
We talked about
You can't
this, too.
believe what they charge you for interest on those leases. Or maybe it's not
does
interest.
that
it might
include
be
like a
something.
service package deal where they come in and service the machine as part of the lease agreement?
Probably, but I have the same thing, and
Yeah.
based on the number of copies I have. Was it in the audit book?
It was in the audit.
It was in the audit book, wasn't
we
it?
need
I
to
thought
look
you
at
that might be
in the future.
something that we need to maybe address through the year and talk to
As
Terry.
liaisons, we can
Yeah,
talk about
this is an
Yeah.
audit report that the board got one, and I also received one.
Better start a list.
Anyway, we only have 2 that we are leasing.
Okay.
It's a pretty
When
small sheet.
When I say it's a little bit strong,
It's lots of pages.
Uh, the extension copier lease agreement, that's to the extension office out there. We're paying 6.76% interest, but the state's attorney's copier lease agreement issued in 10/5/15, we're paying 14.664%.
When was that lease started?
That one was started in November of 2015.
2015.
Wow.
Wow.
And it's just a matter of budgeting for it. I mean,
And how many years does
I
that
did
go
budget
yet?
for my copier that I purchased. So it's just a matter of planning instead of doing the
Right.
lease.
Well, that's something maybe, I think we definitely need to maybe take a look at and address, just for the benefit of the county.
To answer
All right.
Laura's question, the lease is mature 11/15 of 2020. So that
this
lease
year.
with that high
This year.
interest is done in November this year.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's something we could take a look at. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. Item number 26, action to approve automatic budget supplements.
No automatic supplements today.
All right, item number 27, action to approve personnel changes.
We have 1 personnel change, and that's James Torstensen. He will take over the Emergency Management Director position. He is in training right now. The recommendation is for step 12, 3042 per hour.
All right, I look for a motion and a second
Move
on
to
that.
approve.
Motion by Johnson, second by Waterman. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. Travel request, item number 28.
We had one come in just this morning. It was kind of a last-minute thing. Our current emergency management director would like to take Jamie to the state EM office next Tuesday just to run him through procedures out there. It's a one-day travel. They'll be taking a county vehicle, and any overtime hours will be flexed.
I'll
Make the motion.
Motion by
Second.
Gable, second by Van Duzen. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. Item number 29, public notices that there could be a possible quorum of commissioners at
Let me get them.
Wednesday, the Republican,
Yeah, and government
Is that
affairs.
tomorrow?
Yeah, that's,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, what I'm
So-
looking for, and you can mention all of these, but what I'm looking for is something that I can
okay.
put on this list that is down the road to make
Okay.
people aware of. But please still keep mentioning what is going
other
on.
things,
Yeah.
okay.
There's a Cracker Barrel at the Elks on the 25th of
Okay,
January.
that's a good one.
There's also,
At the Elks?
At the Elks, I have that down at 9 a.m. I think I'm moderating that.
there's also pipeline training.
Pipeline training, yeah.
And that's in February. I think it's February 2nd, so that's down the road ways.
Well, that's okay. Well, February 2nd falls on a Sunday.
Oh, well, let me look here again.
Well, and down the road a ways, Watertown Day, is that February
February
5th? Out in Pier, that there could maybe be a quorum of commissioners that might be
Okay.
attending that
At
as
the
well.
legislature?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
Watertown Day.
That's worth putting on.
February 5th is that day.
Better to include it than not.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm just trying to avoid violation of open meeting laws.
Yep.
And tomorrow's, there's the GOP lunch and a government affairs meeting, but those may or may not be quorums.
All right. Seeing nothing else, number 30, old business.
Yeah, Madam Chair, just, I'm getting a few quotes on web providers, so we've been alluding to our website, and just we need to, so it's probably not going to be at the level of needing to go to a bid. It's not going to cost that much, but so.
I don't
I'm
think
in the
those type of things
Yeah, services don't necessarily have to
need
anyway,
bidding. I
but
think they're
it's not
exempt
anywhere
from the
close.
bid
So,
laws.
so anyway, I'm getting a few quotes on that, so hopefully we can get something figured out there.
All right. Something else I think on old businesses, are we going to advertise for our facility manager?
That's coming
We
up
need
here.
to
That'd be
take care
new
of that.
business, so I think, but I
Well,
wasn't.
you already had a motion last week. to
We did. It's
advertise.
on old business, so
Yes.
I guess.
Okay. I had conversation with Terry Satterley.
I have to.
And in your packet, you've got,
Oh, yeah.
in conversation with him, first off, I said, is there any restrictions as far as how soon we can advertise for that position? And Terry said, no, there's not. And so he went to work, and this is what he came up
And
with.
he's waiting for the go-ahead from you. You've already,
Yep.
like I said, you've already made a motion to go ahead and advertise, so that's done. You just need to give him the okay to how he's got it listed.
I'll
That
make
does
a
not
motion
take-
that we go ahead and
does not take a
advertise that.
motion.
Nope.
Oh, I'm
Does
sorry.
take a motion. No,
Okay, just-
you've already
We
done
did
that.
already, so.
Yeah, the only question I have is.
We did fix a typo on the draft ad for the public opinion.
Yeah,
It's
the-
got county,
End of the second paragraph.
county government.
Is that too tight a turnaround if we put it in, get it in the paper like ASAP, and then the deadline for application 24 January, is that too tight of a turnaround?
I think we need a month, don't we? Shouldn't we go out a month? I mean, January
That's entirely-
24th
that's
is a
what he's
pretty,
waiting- That's what he's waiting to hear
That's
from
only 2
you, and any
weeks.
changes
Well-
you might want.
I think if anyone is interested, they'll probably act on it. I mean,
Oh, they
you
will,
know.
but still, you want to do a good resume and all that stuff, and so,
let's say by January
And
31st.
like I said, none of
That's
this
Friday,
none of this
Brenda?
needs a
Yeah,
motion.
the next
We
week.
Have
just need to be of a consensus
The
and then
deadline
somebody
for
give him a
applications,
call.
January
Yeah.
31st by 5
so you're saying
p.m.
January 31st, you think?
I think so, that's
And
a
then-
Friday.
Do that.
Okay,
That
so
gives them
then,
one more week.
what do you think about the anticipated hire date, February 14th? You still okay with that? Should be able
I
to
would
get
think
that
that's
wrapped
It's
up?
anticipated, so,
Okay,
target,
Right.
target date.
all right.
Okay, so somebody just needs to give Terry a call then.
I can do that.
Okay.
All right.
This will be a working
hold on a minute.
position
That's
rather
not-
than just a
Anticipated
supervisory
hire date,
position?
that's not the anticipated start date. Because if somebody
February.
has to give 2 weeks to their employer, that's only 2 weeks from the 31st, the time that applications close. So do we want to go till the 21st of February and give them one more week for the anticipated
If you're going
hire
to go to
date?
the 21st, you might as well go to March 1st and make it clear cut
The first of the
But-
month?
for salary, yeah.
I don't know if I want to go.
Are we going to be okay waiting that long, I guess, with, I think it's anticipated,
Okay,
and it
okay.
depends on the individual, and, you know, it can be probably a work in progress on that,
Okay.
since we don't have, it's anticipated, we aren't
You
specifically.
know, when you look at the applications,
Yeah.
you can see what
We
kind
can
of-
determine that.
candidate needs for,
Yep.
yeah.
I think we're okay to leave that date for
Okay.
now, and then
Yeah.
it's anticipated, we're not rock solid on that, so. Yes, Commissioner Waterman.
Mr. Chairman, is this going to be a working position, or is this going to be a physical working position with a part-time supervisor? I still don't feel that we've got enough facilities to have just a full-time manager as in our previous manager's position.
I believe, didn't Milo, wasn't he also doing things as well besides managing? He was,
What did he do?
Well, I think he moved
I
snow,
mean, okay,
I believe. I mean,
is the snow getting moved now?
yep.
Yep. In fact, to answer your question in reference to that, I can't remember when we had the blizzard. All these days been running together, but I was on the phone with Jim Sutton and Brad and Rick and I about 5 in the morning, and we all were out and about checking out the roads and so on and so forth, and I said, my concern, what time did you start late? What day was that? Yeah, it
That was
started-
Monday the 30th, and in hindsight, we should not have opened at all.
Yeah, at 1 o'clock.
That was the state, right? Didn't the state make that call to open up at 1 o'clock that day?
Yeah,
Yes.
it opened up at 1,
Yeah.
and,
The
but,
streets in town were virtually impassable.
Yeah.
but the parking lot was already at like 5 o'clock in the morning, the parking lot was cleared. The parking lot, because I said, how long is it gonna take to get the parking lot cleared out? And Jim said, it's already cleared out. He said, that's not the problem. Getting to the parking lot is the problem.
problem.
And we said, do you think the city will have the streets opened up enough to get there by noon, by 1? Well, we said noon. And they said, no, let's just go to 1, because people come at noon and then they'll want to go to dinner, so we just moved it to 1. So it's a crapshoot out there. You have to make the call, and if somebody else wants to do it, they can sure do it, but then you better get your butt out in the country and find out what it's like out there.
The problem is, the roads in the country were better than the roads
They were.
in town.
Yes,
So
they were.
Charlie, to get back to your question, whether or not there's enough work there for a full-time facilities manager, I think we have that position in place right now, and I think that if we're going to have people working in our county buildings, we have to have a point of contact or somebody to reach out to that's in charge of the whole facilities department, because it's a span of control issue with me. I mean, and being able to say, hey, look, he's not doing what needs to be done. You, as the facilities manager, need to make sure that that gets taken
I mean,
care
we're
of.
talking about a
So-
$60,000 expenditure plus benefits.
Yep.
I don't feel that that's necessary. I do feel that we've got campgrounds out there. I think the person that's in charge of the campground could make the recommendation to somebody up here and report what needs to be done. I think our extension center we have people out there that could report up to and have one central person that would have additional duties here. Not a,
So who would
just
be in charge of approving claims and
We would
budget?
appoint
And
somebody
preparing
to-
budget is a huge thing
Okay.
for these buildings.
And
That's
so-
just my comments.
I mean, that
Yeah.
part I have not worked out.
Yep, the administrative part, you definitely have to have somebody who can prepare a budget, who can calculate, estimate how much overtime may be coming in.
And that to me goes
Employees.
back to the span of control of the employees that fall under that
Yeah.
position.
You
so.
do need somebody capable of handling those duties.
That I can certainly follow. It just seems
Yeah.
like an awful lot of money for the amount of facilities that we have here.
Right. I think you would be surprised as to how much that individual really has to do and what they're, when they have all the different places to kind of oversee and do the monthly reports and, yeah, like you said, the budgeting and that sort of thing. I believe that you would be amazed at what they really are doing. And I can't see that person just sitting there either. If they're that type of person, they're going to be in there helping because, they're not just going to be.
I understand what you're saying, Harley. My experience has been, though, that the people that probably are in these positions, and when Cindy hit the nail on the head, when it's time to prepare a budget or time to get the paperwork done, that's the last thing they want to do. They love their job, they do an excellent job, but preparing budgets, supervising employees, and making tough decisions is not very, very easy, and they're probably not, they're not inclined to want to do that.
Well, the liaison, I don't think it's the liaison's job to take on all those tasks, because we're not micromanagers.
Right, yeah. Well, that's why you'd have a,
Is this something I've been
yeah.
just
It's worth a
wanted to
discussion.
bring up for attention and discussion?
Yep, that's fine, that's good.
Because it is an awful lot of money.
I think that there's an awful lot of work that's done behind the scenes that we probably don't know is being done.
Yeah.
And I think if we eliminated that position, then all of a sudden that work isn't getting done, and we're asking why it isn't. And that's when we start having problems.
Well, we don't want to fall behind the curve, that's for
Right.
sure.
No,
Right.
and then he has applied for grants and different things like that too for things that come up. So, I mean, I agree with Troy, and like I
And
tried to
again,
say it, that it's,
If I can chime in too, when you need to do things like an RFP for sprinklers, I mean, I've been very involved in some of those, and that's not a simple thing. And, if without Milo here, I think all of us have had to do a thing or two, during Milo's recovery and everything. That really would be better if somebody that really understood buildings and grounds were doing it. So anyway, that's.
all right. Answer your question, Charlie?
That answered my question. I still
Brenda,
can't
you
say
will-
100% agree, but
Right.
it is a consensus.
Brenda, you will contact Terry?
I will.
Okay.
All right. Item number 31, new business then.
I don't know if this would fall under new business or not, but last night the city of Watertown announced that they have accepted a contract with Sioux Valley Co-op for E30 in all city vehicles. And so they were going exclusively to E30. And I think that's something that we in Cottington County need to do as well. I would like to follow their lead. Glacier Lakes Energy is a very important part of our economy here in Watertown. They're in our backyard, and I know that we've talked about this before, but I think we support our farmers as the Cottington County Commission. We are supporting our agriculture and our farming community. They're the folks that are bringing the corn to the ethanol plant. And now research has shown that E30 isn't hard on your vehicles. It doesn't hurt your vehicles. It actually improves performance in a lot of cases. But I would recommend that we follow the city's lead as a county and begin putting E30 in all of our vehicles, and I think we need to put that out for bids. Cindy, I don't know what the process is for doing that.
Yes.
But my recommendation is that we go exclusively E30 and we begin taking bids from facilities
That's part
around.
of the notice to bidders that went out.
With the highway department. Didn't we do an E30?
But I'm talking about sheriffs, I'm talking about every county entity that we have.
We
The
did
sheriff's
do an
office.
E30 challenge at one point, didn't we, Cindy? I
Yes,
thought
we
we
did.
did that.
We
We
did.
actually did a few years ago.
Okay, so, but these are just for the highway department and the
Weed department.
weed department because of the quantities of fuel they use. You probably should take additional action, agenda action to use E30 in all vehicles
County-owned
as
vehicles.
possible.
Yeah.
Yep.
that
I mean,
are-
I
I mean, I'm sure
don't
that there's going to be pieces of machinery
Yeah,
that probably
exceptions.
can't
Right,
run
yeah,
E30.
there's going to be.
We understand that, but
So I
Any
can put
that are,
But I think that we should be leading the charge on that. Glacial Lakes Energy is our
Do you know, does the
partner.
city have a resolution or just a policy that we could?
I'll find out.
Okay.
I was
I'll
going to
find
say,
out.
that? Yeah,
I
find
actually
out.
was.
There's actually a news story
Yep, I saw
on
it.
the website.
I just
so
see it, but I just, you know, if they have a policy already written up, that we don't have to
Right.
recreate the wheel,
Yeah.
it'd be good
So
too.
you're going to find that
Yep,
out?
I'll do the-
I actually
the
was
legwork
We'll
thinking,
put it
that.
on the agenda for the 14th. If we have it, then
Okay.
I was actually thinking the same along those lines as well, hearing that, and I know that we did it a few years back, and I don't know if some of our departments actually still use E30, I guess that would be.
I'm pretty sure they do.
I think
And
they do as
When
well,
we did
so.
the E30 challenge, I think that was about 2 years ago, right?
2 or 3.
We recommended to all the departments to use E30. And I'll tell you, at this time, there was some pushback from
Yeah.
some of the departments. And
Well, I think
it's a
that
proven commodity now, so I don't know why in the world we shouldn't be using it.
it's a proven commodity. They've had millions and millions of miles go through vehicles with no problems, and I think that you know, depending on the vehicle, but they're in our back door. We got to support our local economy and our farming community, and I think that we need to lead the charge on that as a county. So I'll get whatever we need.
see what the city did,
Policies.
what kind
Okay.
of
Perfect.
policy or
I'm
procedure they
actually,
put in place, yeah.
I
Perfect.
actually
Thank
use
you.
E30 myself, so I know
I do
in
too.
my vehicle, it hasn't had any
I know
issues.
the police department's used it for the last 3 years in all their vehicles with no issues at all. And it saved them a ton of money. 6 cents per gallon is what the city is getting off their fuel right now.
Okay,
So maybe we can
That
get
was their
that same.
bid, that was what their bidded price was.
All right,
I'll put it on the agenda.
Troy will take care of that, and Cindy will have it on the agenda. How about item number 32, anything for the open? Anyone have anything? Do you want to speak on anything? All right, seeing none, I have not had any requests for an executive session unless somebody else has a request.
No?
I would entertain a motion to adjourn then.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Moved by Gable and second by Waterman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. We're adjourned.
33 items.
Yeah.
I figured we'd be here till 3 o'clock this afternoon.
I actually cut some items to
Okay.
extend into next week. 'cause I